Oh my goodness. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are on our way to go and film a very cool and very unique car. It's a car I've seen once before, and as soon as I saw it, I said, oh my goodness, I need to do a video on that. All right, we have arrived. Oh my goodness. Nice to meet you in real life.
Yeah, you too.
So, there's the RX-7.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself to everybody on camera?
Yeah, sure. My name is Clayton, and I guess I've just been a car guy my whole life, and this is my Viper V10 swapped FD RX-7.
And how old are you?
I'm 26.
26, yeah. And you just built a V10 RX-7.
Yeah, so it took about 5 years. I just started with like a completely gutted shell. I always wanted an RX-7. It was my dream car, but then the prices were just so crazy. So I bought the shell for like a couple grand, and then spent the next 5 years just eating like ramen noodles every day and sleeping in a basement with my best friend, just sharing rent and everything. And then every penny went into this thing for the next 5 years.
I can't believe this car is like real and it's right here. I mean, the scenery is pretty crazy to just see this sitting here. Nothing but these two cars.
Yeah, they look a little out of place. Yeah. For sure.
And Calgary's not really a car central place like California where you see crazy builds like this. This is, I mean, anywhere in the world this is insane, but especially in Calgary.
I think we get cooped up all winter.
Yeah.
And then we just don't know what to do, and we're stuck in the shop, and then we build crazy stuff like this.
So I have so many questions about this car.
Go ahead.
Like money, where did the money come from? A skill to build it, where'd the skill, where'd the parts, like where'd you get the engine, where'd you get the car? Because most cars of this era in Calgary are rusty pieces of junk.
Yeah, so first of all, that's the one nice thing starting with something like an RX-7 is they never really got winter driven. So this one started out as just a clean shell. Also left-hand shell, which is really, really nice. It was important to me to have a left-hand drive car. And yeah, the guy I bought it from had a few different shells, and this one he was just ready to get rid of. And then I worked in the automotive industry for the last roughly 10 years. So I had experience with previous builds. My buddy and I had done a V8 Miata, and then we did an LS3 swap E30, a few other cars kind of like that. And then we would build them and we would say, there's just something missing. So I just kind of stopped and went, okay, if I'm gonna build one last one, my ultimate dream car, what is it? And this is just kind of what I came up with.
And when you say something missing, like what do you mean by that?
Like the V8 Miata, you finish it and a really fun car, but it's just too small. It doesn't have the like a wide enough wheelbase. It's really hard to fit wide tires on it. And then we ran into just like logistic problems with having a tall engine in it. So the engine's overheating. It's really hard to fit like big enough rear ends, everything else, the transmission. This car just gave me a lot more flexibility. Surprisingly, the V10 fit fairly well. So,
you want to pop the hood?
Yeah, of course.
It's so clean as well. Like it's not just a V10 stuffed in a car. You've done all the cosmetics, the lights, I mean the carbon fiber.
So, and this is also a carbon hood as well. I just didn't want the glaring carbon hood, so I painted it.
Wow.
But so we had to cut it apart a lot. So pretty much what we did is we built the car around the drivetrain. So we had to, I don't know if you can really see, but we cut apart the whole firewall and then down into the transmission tunnel. We had to clean up the frame rails a little bit just for some of the width clearancing. And then we started with a swap kit subframe in the front for an LS, and then just had to heavily modify it to work with the Viper. And then, yeah, just you keep welding it and you keep making shit, and eventually you end up with this. So
this is so clean as well.
Yeah,
like,
thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, and this is all metal work. There's like, it's impossible to get it 100% metal. Like there's a little bit of filler, but not enough for me to be worried about. Logistically, this car was horrible to build. Like nothing works.
Yeah.
Something I ran into with the ECU on this. ECUs on the Vipers run a CAN bus system. So if you're trying to use it for like an engine swap, you need every electrical sensor, every plug-in, and usually it just doesn't work. So I lucked out that I got one of like 2 or 3 years that you were actually able to reuse the OEM harness. And then there was a guy in the States who was able to remake the harness for me for like $1,000, where I could relocate the ECU with all new Dodge connectors.
So where'd you put it?
So the ECU has been relocated under the dash just so that there's the full wire tuck. And then, well, I can show you this as well.
Yeah, show me.
So same thing, you're combining the Viper electronics with the leftover Mazda electronics that I needed to use, then with the standalone wiring harness. So you kind of have 3 entire systems that you need to combine. Here's my hood prop.
So clean, this car. Did you repaint it, or is this original?
So I did all of the paintwork myself. So I just stripped it down to metal and then did the Shine Auto wide body kit on it.
Yeah.
And then did all the paint.
And was it originally yellow?
I think this was one of the dark blue cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is not the original yellow color. This is just a color I liked. So then I made this. So this was a full kind of spot to combine all the electronics, where I have full control over the Viper ECU and my standalone kit. And then, yeah, just all the little headaches of had to rebuild a LED hazard flasher system. So you've got just a bunch of problems that you don't normally have to deal with when you're building a car like this.
Yeah.
Another one I'm dealing with right now is the Viper transmissions don't have a speed sensor. So you have no way of getting a pulse signal to your speedometer to get a speed readout. You can run a satellite speedo, but I just really don't like using them. They don't always work good in tunnels or in cities. So had to build a full Hall effects kit off of an ABS ring, and then you convert the pulse signal, and there's all these things that I didn't really know what to do. It's just you build a system that either works or it doesn't, and then you go back to square one and make it work.
Okay, and how did you learn how to do all of this?
YouTube.
Like at 26?
YouTube.
Just YouTube?
Yeah.
But no one's really built a car like this, have they?
When I first started this one, I knew of one other Viper swapped RX-7 in the world, so I knew it was like possible. It was a guy in Russia, and he built it just as a drift missile. So there was no hood, it wasn't finished, but I went, okay, it's at least
running
possible. He has since pulled the drivetrain out and is running a E36 drivetrain in it.
Oh, wow.
Which is completely different. I knew that it was possible, and same thing over the years of working in the shop, learn how to paint, learn how to wire, learn how to weld. I'm sure there are people in shops that could have built this car 3 times as fast as I did. But it was important to me that I knew every wire, every bolt, every ounce of paint on the car.
How long did the entire car take?
So I have 5,000 hours into it. Yeah. So it was every single day. I would work for 8 hours. I would go work on the car for 5 to 6 hours in the evening, 5 days a week for 3.5 years, weekends, patient girlfriend.
I was going to say, did you have a girlfriend at that point?
Yeah, and she was very supportive for sure.
Did she just sit there with you while you...
And she studied in the States for a little while. I think she went, okay, as you're finishing this, I'll go, I'll be gone for a little bit. So the hardest part now has actually been like letting myself drive it, because you spend that much time building a car like this and you're just terrified to hurt it. People hear 5,000 hours and go, oh, it shouldn't take that long. And you're right. I'm sure there is some shop that if they had every tool in the right space and they knew what they were doing, I could probably build the next one in 2,000 hours instead. And so many little things that like all the different mounts on the bottom, it's a full custom built TIG welded exhaust system. There's, I think, 85 TIG welds on the exhaust system. I had to build a cantilever exhaust system because I couldn't put the hangers anywhere. So there's full exhaust cutouts underneath.
Can you see any of that from here?
I can probably send you some pictures, but you can do your best.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and it's running a Ford 8.8 independent rear center section out of a newer Explorer. So it's aluminum center section, 355 gears, Eaton True Track limited slip. So it's independent rear suspension, and it's custom axles with Porsche CV joints and then broached hubs.
And you just figured this all out?
Yeah, you know, with something like this, a lot of the car can kind of be figured out from kind of copying what other people have done. So you search, okay, high horsepower RX-7, braking axles RX-7. Okay, well, what are the ELS guys doing? What are the 2J guys doing? And you can take a little bit from what they're doing. You can take a little bit from other cars. So same thing with the rear end. A lot of it was available in swap kits for just other RX-7 enthusiasts that were building high horsepower cars. More the challenge with this was the fitment of the Viper drivetrain, and then the electronics, and then just the logistics.
Yeah.
Everything that's left. The one thing drives me nuts, everyone gets angry about this, is the weight balance of the car. People get really, really fussy over this. They see the car and they think that the weight is completely screwed. There is a small weight shift, but the drivetrain is completely aluminum.
Yeah.
And the 13B that came out of it is you have cast iron manifolds, you have really heavy turbos. From all the research I've done, somewhere between like 150 to 200 pounds weight difference total between the two drivetrains. And then on top of that, I've relocated the battery, a bunch of electronics to the back. I have more bracing in the rear end. So all I've really done is maybe like a 1 to 3% weight shift. People look at this and think it must drive like a funny car and you can't take it into a corner. This thing handles really, really, really well. We have full custom spring rates for it to compensate for the little bit of extra weight in the front. This thing drives really, really nice.
Well, can we go for a ride?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it.
What a car. How often do you drive this car? Once a month? Once
I try
a year?
to take it out 2 or 3 times a week.
Oh, wow.
So
That's more than I thought.
yeah, I only got it on the road in May, and I've got probably 1,000. Oh, I got to do it. The hood bins.
Oh, yeah.
That's a
That'll be a safety concern.
near disaster.
This is such a crazy build.
A couple little panels still missing. Over the winter, I'm still going to pull the interior back out and just finish some of the loose ends. So the whole car has been wired with Deutsch connectors, so all of the harnesses can be pulled out in modules. So I can have the dash out in 5 minutes and all the electronics just clip out.
Oh,
so
wow.
I wanted to make sure that I could still work on the car easily. So I'll do it with the cutouts open. I'm thinking that's what people want to hear.
So these buttons, what do they control?
So this one here is to open the cutouts, and then this one here closes the cutouts. I just got rear defrost OEM buttons. They're just momentary pulse switches, and I have little decals made up, so it's going to be the loud volume, quiet volume.
Oh, yeah.
And then this one, just a little taxi horn.
Huh.
Yeah.
So your horn is no longer on your wheel?
No, so this is a NB Miata Nardi edition steering wheel. The gauges are custom from Speed Hut, so I got them made in RX-7 font. So again, the speedo I still need a little bit to get. There's one sensor I have to switch out from Dakota Digital to make work, and I rebuilt all of the heater core boxes underneath the dash because they no longer fit with the OEM ones from the different firewall. Same thing, it's just sitting on the workbench at the shop, so this winter I'll go plumb it in. Everything's fit, I'm just ceramic coating it and doing all new seals and making it work. And then all of these are like electric sensors from factory, and they use little servo motors at the far end. So I just reused all of the OEM servo motors in the heater core boxes that I built to open and close different flaps. So I just kind of had to build all that from scratch to work. And there's a little heater core out of like a Suzuki Sidekick or something. So
Yeah.
yeah, so cutouts open.
Put your seatbelt
Yeah.
on. Wow. Oh my goodness. Does this car scare you?
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. So this is about 500 pounds lighter than the Viper that the drivetrain came out of. And those cars ran about 11 seconds in the quarter mile.
And they were famous for people crashing them.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no way!
Yeah. So I've got 315 sticky street tires in the back. So it hooks pretty well. If I had run different gears in the back, like 373s or 410s, I probably could have got it to lose traction, but I really didn't want to throw this thing into the ditch. So the 355s are a nice balance, and I can kind of floor it in every gear without killing myself. Oh my gosh! Like that's a 4th gear ball.
This car is insane. What does your girlfriend think?
She thinks it's really noisy. Yeah, I took her for a drive and she went, yeah, I like the quiet button, so.
So this
I don't
is
know.
now quiet mode. You just
Yeah,
put it
so
on.
I just close the cutout. So now we can, I guess, you can still hear it, but it's noticeably quieter. The shift knob I got made custom to match the OEM one, but with the T56 pattern put in. And I got everything in the car done with brown stitching on black leather, and then new carpet made for the car. A few other little trim pieces that I have in the box I just haven't installed yet. It's been more important to get the car out and enjoy it.
Yeah, because where we live, you only have like 5 months to drive.
That's the challenge, is you finish the car in May, and if you don't get your use out of it, you have it back in the shop late September, and then it sits all winter.
Do you know how much money you think you're into this build?
A lot more than I would like. Just about 100,000 in hard costs.
Not including your 5,000 hours.
Yeah, exactly. So the big ones, the engine was 18 grand with shipping to get it to Canada. The subframes were 5 grand, the body kit was 5 grand, bucks, the rims were 5 grand, the axles were 3,000, getting the interior done was 5,000, dash was 3, like everything was just 2,000-3,000 at a time. And you reach a point where you go, I have 80,000 into it, what's the rest? So I'm not rich.
Yeah.
I saved up for a few years before I started the build, and then I spent every penny I had, sold off all my other toys. So it's a lot of money. I'm very lucky to have been able to build something like this.
You want to share what you do for a living?
I worked as a field technician for a lot of years, and it wasn't for me. So I've left that industry, and now I'm back as a full-time student, studying finance so I can pay someone else to build these cars for me next time.
Is that the goal?
I think that'd be pretty nice.
Well, thank you so much for the ride. I appreciate it.
Of course.
What an insane car. Probably the coolest build I've filmed in Canada.
Yeah, thank you. Glad you liked it.
Subscribe if you want to see more people's cars and their stories. Never ever quit on your dreams. Whatever your dream is, don't give up. And I'll see you in the next interview. Oh my goodness, thank you for watching this video. Peace.